please consider supporting my work on Patreon from only $1. Thank you. Hello and welcome to All Top 5s. I've talked about Japanese urban legends before, but there are many more whispered tales to curdle the blood out there. Here are 5 particularly spooky urban legends from Japan. Number 5. Let's begin with the weird Jinmenken, which means human-faced dog. In Japan, the Jinmenken are regular dogs who have human faces. They try to stay hidden from society, but when confronted are actually able to talk. Some stories have people come across Jinmenken rooting through rubbish, thinking they're dogs, only to be shocked when a human face looks up and says, "Leave me alone." While some feel the Jinmenken is a humorous, comedic kind of urban legend, I'm not sure I agree. It's said that they can run extremely fast, allowing them to run past cars on highways even, and look back at those drivers with their creepy human faces. There is debate over the Jinmenken origin, with some saying it's a genetic experiment gone wrong. But I prefer the alternative, that a Jinmenken is the ghost of a person who was killed by a car while walking their dog, resulting in the weird fusing of the two. While Japanese stories of dogs with human faces do date back to 1810, it's thought that 1989 was when the modern Jinmenken legend began to spread. So keep an eye on stray dogs when next in Japan then. Number 4. Back in 1980s Japan, a series of 3 Kleenex commercials was produced, featuring the actress Keiko Matsuzaka in a white dress, and a small child wearing an oni or demon costume, with Edward Barton and Jane's song "It's a Fine Day" playing in the background.
It's a fine day, people open windows, they houses just for a short while. They walk by the cross and they look at the cross, they look at the sky. It's going to be a fine night tonight, it's going to be a fine day tomorrow.
Whether it was the haunting music, the odd choice of outfits, or the surreal atmosphere, the advert understandably rattled viewers. They began to complain to TV stations and to Kleenex's headquarters. Soon, rumours began to circulate about the cursed nature of the commercials, that everybody who worked on them died in unusual ways, or that Keiko Matsuzaka was hurled into a mental institution, or even that she fell pregnant with a demon child and that the advert was a cursed message. All these rumours were, allegedly, false. But still, what on earth possessed Kleenex to produce such a creepy advertisement for their product? Especially when it began a fervent urban legend amongst the Japanese population. Number 3. Write down the Japanese hiragana characters, place your fingers on a coin, and call upon Kokkuri-san to answer your most burning questions. Similar to the Ouija board of the West, the Japanese instead play the game of Kokkuri. Although it began in the Meiji era, around the end of the 19th century, it persisted and is popular in Japanese high schools today. A question is asked, and the answer comes back in the form of divination, with the coin under the player's fingers moving to spell out words. Kokkuri is onomatopoeic for nodding up and down, dating back to when it began with a tripod of bamboo rods, a pot, and a cloth over the top. Nowadays, though, asking your question to Kokkuri-san is like asking a spirit who inhabits the game. Some variations on the urban legend say that Kokkuri-san will only tell players the date they'll die, a grim portent. Others say that it's vital you finish by saying goodbye to Kokkuri-san, or that you must spend the coin used to ask the questions in a certain amount of time. If you don't, you risk great misfortune, or even death. So Kokkuri-san is a classic Ouija-style Japanese urban legend that seems to be here to stay. Number 2. Back on the 16th of December 1932 in Tokyo, the Shirokiya department store had a deadly fire. Sadly, 14 people died in the accident. As part of the escape attempts, many of the saleswomen wearing kimono were stuck up on the roof on the 8th floor. The rumours began to spread that some of these women wouldn't jump into the firefighters' safety nets below because their traditional kimono meant that they weren't wearing undergarments, that they were so ashamed of jumping and exposing themselves that they chose instead to die on that burning building. It's a tragic story, but apparently untrue. Even so, the legend spread, and of course foreigners as far away as even Europe lapped up this idea of the Japanese and their rigid modesty and traditions. The story even went so far as to say that when the store was back in business after the fire, saleswomen were ordered to wear underwear under their kimono. Even in Japan, many believe that this one incident kick-started change in Japanese fashion towards wearing more Western-style underwear. While there's no evidence for any of this, it just goes to show the power of an urban legend, even decades before the internet came along. Number 1. Gozu. It means cow head, and it's the name of the fictional story in a Japanese urban legend. Gozu is a tale so absolutely horrific that anyone who reads or hears it becomes overwhelmed with terror. They can only shake and tremble for many days until they finally succumb to death. Because of its very nature, there are no real details about the contents of this deadly story, since everyone dies after hearing it. But the legend goes that there are fragments of Gozu scattered across Japan. One fragment is said to be about a town that ate this unspeakable cow head, this Gozu, and became horribly cursed. Another part of the legend goes that a teacher on a school trip read a section of Gozu to his pupils while travelling on a bus. The bus crashed, and all the kids lost their memories and were left paralysed with fear. The origin of Gozu, this cowhead story, is unclear, as with so many urban legends, and in fact its origin is a legend in itself. Some say it's a piece of work by sci-fi writer Sakyo Komatsu. Some say it links to a folktale from Ukraine about a woman who offers shelter to a visiting disembodied cow's head late one night, resulting in her good fortune. But how they link to such an unspeakable and fatal tale of Gozu, who knows? This is perfect Japanese urban legend material though, as the story itself is made out to be impossible to know without dying. This piques curiosity and lets the imagination run riot with the ever-present threat of one's own mortality at stake. Gozu has strong similarities to Ringu, the classic Japanese horror film about a cursed videotape that kills anyone who watches it after 7 days, and Junji Ito's horror manga short Second-Hand Record, where an untitled, unmarked jazz record possesses its listeners to do anything, even kill, to hear it again. Still though, if someone handed you a manuscript with Gozu written on the front, claiming it was the horrifying story of legend, would you read it? That's it from all top 5s. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, and if you've enjoyed this video please give it a like and subscribe and click the bell to stay informed. Or you can click there to support all top 5s on Patreon and see the new videos before anyone else. Peace and love to each and every one of you, and I'll see you all next time on All Top 5s.